Have you ever stood at a crossroads, not just of roads, but of choices, each path whispering a different promise, a different life? It's a familiar feeling, this pull of possibilities, this burden of deciding. We often speak of freedom as a gift, a birthright, something to be cherished and defended. But what if freedom isn't just a right, but also a responsibility, an inescapable weight that shapes the very core of our being? What if the more choices we have, the heavier the burden becomes? We live in a world saturated with options. From the mundane, what to eat, what to wear, what to watch, to the monumental, what to believe, who to love, how to live, the sheer volume of possibilities can be paralyzing. We scroll through endless feeds, each post a curated glimpse into someone else's seemingly perfect life, fueling a constant comparison, a nagging sense that we're missing out, that we're not choosing the right path. This pursuit of the optimal choice, this fear of regret, can trap us in a state of perpetual indecision, a kind of self-imposed prison where freedom becomes a source of anxiety rather than liberation. But perhaps the problem isn't the abundance of choices themselves, but our understanding of what it means to be free. We often equate freedom with the absence of constraints, the ability to do whatever we want, whenever we want. But this is a superficial understanding, a child's dream of limitless candy. True freedom, the kind that leads to a meaningful and fulfilling life, is not about escaping limitations, but about embracing them, about making conscious choices within the framework of our circumstances, our talents, our values. Think of the artist who chooses to work within the confines of a specific medium, the poet who finds beauty in the constraints of a sonnet, the dancer who expresses profound emotion through the disciplined movements of ballet. It is within these limitations that true creativity flourishes, that true expression emerges. Similarly, in life, it is by acknowledging our limitations, our flaws, our imperfections, that we can begin to make authentic choices, choices that are aligned with our deepest selves, choices that lead us towards a life of purpose and meaning. This journey towards authentic freedom is not a passive one. It requires courage, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront the shadows within ourselves. It demands that we take responsibility for our choices, not just the ones that lead to success and happiness, but also the ones that lead to failure and pain. For it is in these moments of adversity, in these encounters with our own limitations, that we truly learn and grow, that we discover the strength and resilience that lies dormant within us. So let us embark on this exploration of freedom, not as a theoretical concept, but as a lived experience, a daily practice, a constant invitation to choose, to create, to become. Let us delve into the depths of our own being, confront our fears and insecurities, and emerge with a renewed sense of purpose, a deeper understanding of ourselves, and a greater appreciation for the power and responsibility that comes with being truly free. This is not a journey for the faint of heart, but it is a journey worth taking, a journey that can lead us to a life of authenticity, meaning, and lasting fulfillment. Now, turning to the voices of those who have grappled with this very notion of inescapable freedom, we find a rich tapestry of thought. Søren Kierkegaard, for instance, explored the abyss of choice, the dizzying realization that we are condemned to be free. He highlighted the anguish that arises from this awareness, the dread that accompanies the responsibility of forging our own meaning in a world devoid of inherent purpose. This existential anxiety, as he termed it, is not a sign of weakness, but rather an indication of our capacity for authentic selfhood. Conversely, consider the perspective of Friedrich Nietzsche, who celebrated the will to power, the drive to create our own values and overcome the nihilism that threatens to engulf us. For Nietzsche, Freedom is not merely the absence of external constraints, but the active assertion of our own individual will, the courageous embrace of life's inherent chaos and uncertainty. It is through this self-affirmation, this relentless pursuit of self-overcoming, that we can transcend the limitations of our inherited morality and forge our own unique path. Building on this, however, Simone de Beauvoir, a key figure in existentialist feminism, emphasized the social and political dimensions of freedom. She argued that women, in particular, have historically been denied the opportunity to exercise their freedom, confined to predefined roles and expectations. True liberation, for Beauvoir, requires not only individual self-assertion, but also a collective struggle against oppressive social structures, a dismantling of the barriers that prevent individuals from realizing their full potential. Another crucial layer is added by the Eastern philosophical traditions. In Buddhism, for example, freedom is understood as liberation from suffering, a state of enlightenment achieved through the cultivation of mindfulness and the understanding of impermanence. This is not a freedom from choice, but a freedom from attachment, a detachment from the desires and aversions that bind us to the cycle of suffering. By cultivating equanimity and accepting the ever-changing nature of reality, we can find a profound sense of inner peace and freedom, regardless of our external circumstances. Consider, too, the Stoic philosophers who emphasized the importance of virtue and reason in achieving a life of tranquility. For Stoics like Epictetus, true freedom lies not in controlling external events, but in controlling our own thoughts and emotions. By accepting what we cannot change and focusing our energy on what we can cultivate a sense of inner resilience and independence, a freedom from the tyranny of our own passions and desires. The common thread that runs through these diverse perspectives is the recognition that freedom is not a passive state, but an active process, a continuous striving towards self-understanding and self-mastery. It is a journey that requires courage, self-awareness, and a willingness to embrace the challenges and uncertainties that life inevitably throws our way. It is a journey that can lead us to a life of authenticity, purpose, and lasting fulfillment. Reflecting on this journey so far, a certain pattern emerges, one not of rigid definition, but of fluid understanding. It's as if we've been navigating a complex labyrinth, each turn revealing a new perspective, a different facet of the same overarching question. The walls of this labyrinth, initially appearing solid and imposing, now seem more like veils, subtly shifting with the light of our inquiry. It's not about escaping the maze, but about understanding its structure, its purpose, and our place within it. These interwoven threads, while distinct in texture and color, create a cohesive tapestry, a richer understanding of the human condition. We begin to see that the pursuit of freedom is not a solitary endeavor, but a shared human experience, one shaped by our individual circumstances and our collective history. It's a dance between personal agency and societal influence, a constant negotiation between our inner desires and the external pressures that shape our choices. Consider the image of a river, its waters constantly flowing, carving new paths through the landscape. Our lives, like that river, are shaped by the terrain around us, the obstacles we encounter, the currents that pull us in different directions. Yet, we are not merely passive observers, carried along by the force of circumstance. We have the power to navigate these currents, to choose our own course, to shape our own destiny. Drawing these insights together, the path forward becomes less about seeking definitive answers and more about embracing the ongoing process of questioning, of exploring, of becoming. It's about recognizing that freedom is not a destination, but a journey, a continuous unfolding of possibilities. The weight we initially perceived as a burden begins to feel more like ballast, providing stability and direction as we navigate the turbulent waters of life. As we pivot towards the final reflection, let us consider the implications of this understanding for our daily lives. How do we translate these abstract concepts into concrete actions, into choices that reflect our values and align with our deepest aspirations? How do we cultivate the courage to embrace our freedom, to take responsibility for our choices, and to create a life of meaning and purpose? These are the questions that remain, the challenges that await us as we continue our journey towards self-discovery and authentic living. The richness of these ideas converges not into a simple solution, but into a potent invitation for continued exploration and growth. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean. The horizon stretches endlessly before you, an invitation to explore the unknown depths. The waves crash against the shore, a constant reminder of the power and unpredictability of life. This ocean, in its immensity and mystery, is a metaphor for the freedom that lies within us, the potential to create, to explore, to become. But the ocean can also be daunting, even frightening. Its depths are filled with unseen currents, hidden dangers, and the potential for overwhelming storms. It is tempting to remain safely on the shore, to cling to the familiar and avoid the risks of venturing into the unknown. Yet it is only by embracing the challenges of the ocean, by learning to navigate its currents and weather its storms, that we can truly discover its beauty and unlock its potential. So too, with freedom. It is not a passive gift to be received, but an active force to be embraced. It requires courage to confront our fears, to challenge our assumptions, and to step outside the boundaries of our comfort zones. It demands a willingness to take risks, to make mistakes, and to learn from our experiences. It calls us to become the authors of our own lives, to write our own stories, and to create our own meaning in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain. The path to freedom is not always easy. There will be times when we feel lost, overwhelmed, or discouraged. There will be moments when we question our choices, doubt our abilities, and yearn for the safety of the shore. But it is in these moments of adversity that we truly discover our strength, our resilience, and our capacity for growth. It is through these challenges that we learn to navigate the currents of life, to weather the storms, and to emerge stronger and more resilient than before. The invitation, then, is to dive deep, to explore the vast ocean of your own potential, to embrace the freedom that lies within you, not with reckless abandon, but with mindful intention, with a clear understanding of your values, your strengths, and your limitations. To chart your own course, to navigate your own waters, and to create a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling. The journey is yours, the destination is yours to define. The true practice begins now, not in grand gestures or sweeping pronouncements, but in the quiet moments of choice, in the daily acts of courage, in the unwavering commitment to living a life that is authentically your own. It begins in the acceptance of the inescapable responsibility that comes with being human, the responsibility to choose, to create, to become. And in that acceptance, in that embrace of our own inherent freedom, we find not just a life, but a life lived fully, a life lived deeply, a life lived on our own terms.